Hello, Kelsey Brown.
Hello.
We are back, episode 7 of the Locker Room Chat on NetHub. I do want to shout out to one person. Her name is Beth. She's from Perth. She sent me through a really cool message. Love feedback, all about it. Whether it's good or bad, don't care. Take it, give it airtime, don't give it airtime.
Take it on the
Whatever.
chin.
But Beth reached out to me and she was like, I just want to say, keep it coming from someone who plays Division 2 State League. She was like, there is nothing where we can kind of like vent, get out all of our frustration or listen to what it actually is like. She's loving the locker room chat. She said it's not old stories about past times when you played. It's not about the TikToking trends. It is just truth, honest truth, bombs hitting you in the face. So thank you, Beth. I loved it. I was like, we are here for Beth. We're here for
We're
those
here for
people.
Beth. And we're here for the vent sesh.
Yep.
Gosh, we know that we've had plenty in our time.
Yep. So thank you, Beth. Love it. Keep it coming. And yeah, anyone else want to send it through? Happy to hear you out. You and I actually, for the first time, were sitting on a couch watching netball, and this has not happened in a very long time. Mind you, I think if there was a goggle box of netball, there'd be a lot of viewership. Would it need to be censored a fair bit of the time? Yes, it would. But I loved it. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching netball on the couch with you on the weekend.
Thank you. I agree. I normally am like, oh, I want to be working this game, but I couldn't tell you how nice it was. Either ends of the couch, by the way. I don't know why we were so separated. But to sit and watch the best game of the weekend, Thunderbirds Vixens, to just be sitting talking absolute shit on your couch, a lot of talking, a lot of, oh my God, we could have done so much better when we can't, but loved sitting there with you as well.
You know what? There was a fair bit of talking, but then towards the end, it went pretty quiet. And then after it, it was like crickets. You and I had been at a pretty big emotional day. And so it's like all of a sudden, I think sometimes we hadn't seen each other for a very long time. It was like really, really quick. And then it was silent. And it was just enjoy each other's presence, sit here in silence. So anyway, netball on the couch with you. Haven't had it for a while. Loved it. Let's have a look at the round 6 recap. Have a look at the results. Firebirds 77 to the Swifts 66. Pretty dominant display from the Firebirds in the end. Mary Cholick looked like a totally different person and player out there. I don't know what has finally clicked. Or whether it was just even the addition of some really exciting youth out the front. But yeah, you and I sat there and watched that last bit and was like, wow, like I'm impressed by the Firebirds. They are growing and they are getting better. And I'm actually not surprised that they beat the Swifts because, you know, when it came to the crunch, they had the answers.
It's weird to say this, but I felt they were reliable in that game. I felt like it wasn't the Firebirds of old where I was like, oh my God, they've got a lead and they're going to cough it up. I felt that they were really in control. And I know that we're going to touch on someone later, but I have to give a shout out to Jessie Lagayo who came in. Big replacement to Phil. Macy is obviously a very integral part of that Firebirds lineup. They're without Maddie Gordon and Imo Allison as well. But for her to come in, start, play 60 minutes, she posted on TikTok, which I have a love-hate relationship with content on TikTok. But she posted and she was like, went on there, didn't stuff it up, had a great time, and just her enjoyment of the whole experience, I think really came out in how she played the game. So yeah, I'm really excited about what maybe Firebirds can do, but also huge question marks on Swifts. And we've got a little segment coming up, which is a report card at halfway.
Absolutely. Vixens 56 to the Thunderbirds 50. It was the blockbuster that everyone had been waiting for. Two undefeated teams. But when the cream needed to rise, the Vixens did. And they won it in true Vixens style. It was clinical, short, sharp. They got hand on ball. They got game possession. Their playmaker, their complete vibe indicator, Kira Austin, just came into the party. The 2-point shot worked for them. They just have the answers. And yes, you can call it experience, but I also think that it's not like other teams can't do this. This is trained behavior. This is repetition. And when
Winners.
they winners, they know how to win. And it's because they've done it time and time again at training and then had to do it in situations and scenarios. Because it's not like they just start the game and are winning and then end the game. There are moments they have ups and downs, but they just know how to ride it out. And that is a trained behavior. That is something that is drilled into them from their fundamental skills at training. And you and I can say this because we've been part of it. There'd be footwork, there'd be passing, there is unit work, there is match play, and you are doing it on repeat, sometimes a drill for 50 minutes. But then you know when you get in that situation in a game, you know exactly what to do. And they all know what to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the two things that go under the radar, but obviously would have a lot of work behind it. Now, you and I are privy to what happens during the week. You have a review of your game the week before and you have a preview. And often in the preview, you identify the players who are going to cause you the most issue and how you're going to shut them down. Now, that wasn't really spoken about too much, but Georgie Horgis had one of her quietest games. Now, that was by design from the Vixens and how they worked it and how they managed it. And the other thing you spoke about, it was clinical Vixens. It was what we've grown to see. But the one thing that I did enjoy in the defensive end is that they weren't afraid to swing the changes. We saw Joe Weston go back into the goalkeeper. We saw Emily Mannix come in for a little bit. Rudy Alice. We saw so many different angles that they could find an approach to it. And I just really liked the fact that it would have been a lot of discussion on how we shut down Georgie Horgis. She's the most critical part of the pathway for the Thunderbirds. That is what makes them winners. All of those little extra things that maybe people don't think are by design, but that they are.
And I was speaking earlier during that week with Emily Mannix and Hannah Mundy at a clinic that we did together. And they were saying just the breath of fresh air that Kate Upton has brought in. And she's so strategic. She's quite structured. You and I have been coached by Kate before. And she's really in charge of that defensive unit. So she can be a risk taker. And so those moves are coming through her. Like 2 moves of the week came from the top ladder leaders, which is Vixens. And that was starting Zara Walter in wing defense, which everyone was like, whoa, where's Kate Eddy? But then the injection of Kate Eddy. And also the fact that they, like you said, moving Weston to goalkeeper. We know that she's a true goalkeeper. That's where she's played all of her netball growing up. But people were shocked, and it's like, nah, this is an absolute match-winning move right there.
Can I just speak about Kate Upton? She is an incredible coach. I'm very proud and glad to see her get a run with the Vixens. So I'm not surprised that between her and Di Honey, we both really respect and love Simone McInnes as well. I feel like I wouldn't be the netballer I am, and I'm sure you feel the same without Simone McInnes and the standards that she drilled into us. I'm really excited to see what Di Honey and Kate Upton are doing because it feels like it's shifted a little bit, but still getting the same results.
Absolutely. Mavs 47 to the Fever 59. I still, once again, am begging for the Mavs to take the opportunities when they come. But there was a moment in the game, and it was just towards the end where Fever called a timeout, and I was privy enough to get in that huddle being sideline and listening to what they actually wanted. And what impressed me most about it was Dan Ryan asked for something in the defense, something from the midcourt, something from the shooters. And then in that last 5 minutes, those players went and executed exactly what he asked them to do. Now, there'd been momentum shifts, and you kind of could sense the energy in the stadium that it was like, Mavs are going to come back. Mavs are going to come back. And I think Fever felt that a little bit. But when it came to the crunch and they had to execute, they backed in exactly what he said. Once again, this is trained behaviors. This is execution of doing it time and time again. They went and did it. When the moment came, they owned the moment. And obviously then it resulted out into a significant win in the end. Once again, Mavs, I'm like, you're begging for them to just stand up and take it, and they just can't. But Fever, they're still managing injuries, which is a scary thought, I think, for what they can also inject back in.
And I said this, I think Fever have gone under the radar, and I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I had no idea how they were going to come out, but they are a serious contender again this year. When I say that, though, it's no surprise because I've been coached by Dan Ryan, so I can understand that the standards are there. And one of those that you spoke about was Katie Anderhaney over the shot. She's got one of the best shot defenses in the league, but Fran Williams on the cleanup, on the rebounds, and we saw that happen time and time again in the last quarter. I actually do have a question for you about this game. What did you think of Jez's spray? I can give my opinion first if you want it.
Go for it.
Well, I feel like online everyone thinks that I don't like a spray because there's that obvious video of, circulating that I don't like a spray. I'm actually quite the opposite. I really liked it. Obviously a little bit different to maybe the one that I dealt with, but I also feel like there is a time sometimes for a spray, and we have mentioned it on this podcast so many times. Jez is the consummate professional. He's always been positive, almost frustratingly so in the first 4 rounds. I just want him to be like, we're better than this and we can win. And I was glad to see it on the weekend. And I thought what he said was he was protecting Pav in the fact that she came on, she didn't have an option. There was a lot of stagnant movement. And I'd be really interested to hear how the players responded to that spray. Was it a spray? Yes. But was it valid? Also, yes. And they are better than what they were putting out there. So I wasn't against it. You can love or hate Jez as much as you like. Same with Rob, same with me, whatever. I feel like in those moments, sometimes you just need that.
I agree. And I think what people need to understand is, tell me another sport where you actually get access to that chat, because you don't get it in footy. Netball, we get access into those huddles with a mic. Now, those players and those coaches are fully aware. So sometimes they have to then sometimes bring it in or rein it in a little bit, knowing that that is going to go out and people are going to have an opinion on it. I wish they didn't have to sometimes hold it back, because I think in that moment, like, he needed to. And like you said, he's always been so like, what do we feel and how are we thinking, and trying to kind of get everyone's take on it. There should be more of it.
And I will say there is a time and a moment, and there's almost a craft to a spray. And I think you're a coach yourself. I'm not. So, I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but as a player and a vet player for a little while there, I think there's a time and a place for it. It can't happen every single game. Otherwise it loses its impact. It also can't happen so few and far between that you're shocked out of your brain. But I think, there's room and there's time and there's space for it. I do just want to say, I mentioned before that there's a time and space for it. I don't know whether mine was appropriate, and that's where I see it. And probably one day I will talk about it. But I just thought it was interesting in the time, and people are going to feel how they feel about it. And I was interested in looking at the commentary, especially around it. Any sprays, some people love it, some people hate it. They hate how he's speaking to women, they don't like how he's coming at them, and you're entitled to your opinion. I just think everyone, it's different for everyone, but for me it was an interesting one.
The other thing that, outsiders, we don't even know, I don't even know this information, but as in, what we don't know is what relationship they do have. These people spend hours on hours every single day together. You are judging a snippet. Also, sport is entertainment, so even as part of broadcast, we can be listening and going, grab that. That is juicy goodness. And so it's a snippet of maybe what was an entire chat that we're really taking, we're analyzing, we're judging, and we don't even know the backstory of these relationships. So
no, you don't.
So I think I agree. Have your opinions. I love the spray. I think there should be more of it. There are some international, as in US college coaches. Now they spray their
Look at this close.
So, and there's a lot of commentary on that. And there's one, if I can try and find it and even share it with you guys, would be the fact that there's one where she's right up in her face. And the player actually comes out and goes, I asked for that. Because I know with my coaching, before the start of the season, I've asked all my players, how do you like to receive feedback? What happens in the moment when you're getting beaten? What do you need us to do to help you get back into the game? And they've specified it. Now, if it changes because they're like, oh, actually, I thought I wanted this and we don't, we change that approach. But you've got to ask the players and you've got to know what they want. Maybe they've asked for that.
And that's where, we don't know what week it's been for them behind closed doors. When sometimes in that moment, a player who can often take something like that might not be in a situation. So it is a really hard thing to manage as a coach. I just wanted to say I loved seeing some emotion from Jez, because I think for the first 5 or 6 weeks, I was like, are you not tearing your hair out? Because Mavs, you're now 2-4 and you're so much better than that. And you told us in the preseason that you had recruited really well and you had done all of these things. I'm still seeing the same shit that I saw 2 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. I've grown more grey hair. So enough said. Absolutely. Let's go into our blinder of the week. Now, both of them didn't age like fine wines at all. They've aged very poorly. I said Kate Heffernan to have an absolute standout, and she was missing in action. For an international player, I've expected a lot more in those big game moments, but we have mentioned this before, that some of those imports that are coming over, they play the diamonds maybe 3 times. This is that type of intensity week in, week out. And also you got to understand your training environment is as intense as a game. So it is 4 to 5 sessions of that a week. That is a big change. So Maybe I need to consider that with my imports. You, on the other hand,
She didn't have a great start. I don't think, maybe in goal defense, maybe not as much impact, but we've already mentioned her move. Mine was Joe Weston, and I loved her in goalkeeper. Mine's a slight win, but not really. I will just say off that though, and we probably haven't spoken so much about like ages and retirements and anything like that. And I'm sure later in the season we might get to that discussion. But the training environment, I think people forget, is like what makes people stop. I played a local league waddle game on Wednesday night. Now, can I run around for 45 minutes still and zip about? Absolutely, I can. But I couldn't possibly step up and do the training that is required. It really is the intensity, the physicality, everything that is required of you is what's making people step away from the sport, I think, earlier. Just because what's asked of you is not like, it's hard to do.
and obviously, you know, depending on which team you're in, you're training against internationals day in, day out. Like you would say that when you were at Lightning, one of your hardest sessions was every court work session during the week coming up against a Laura Langman. The games you were like, how good is this? Like I don't have to play against the GOAT. So training can be as hard, if not harder sometimes, that takes a toll on your performance, your mindset, all of it on the weekend. Trending netball news. Now let's go to a couple of ins potentially for some teams. For Fever, Ruth Ariang to return.
She back.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. I was in the stadium when Ruthie did her Achilles, and it was one of the most insane sounds I have ever heard. She obviously had just come back from an ACL to then do, they're the two biggest injuries that you can do in netball. They're the two that we are the most scared of, and to have gone through both of them at such a young age, like I think she's 21. Credit to her. I've actually got goosebumps thinking about it because I'm really excited to see her back out there. It's been a very long journey, and not just the Achilles one, the whole thing. So excited to see Ruthie back.
Yes, Alice Teague-Nield has been named, but she also was named last week and then was a late out. Back troubles, such a hard one to manage, especially load management in such a big netball year. JLP, she's been begging for it for ages. She's finally got a rock on it. Happy days.
Got the rock. No, go off. Let me shout out the Mavs social media team. We gave the Giants a little shout out. Paddy Quay and his media brain and how he put that reveal together for the teammates. I was like, unbelievable. Content of the year for me. Loved it. Loved it.
Maybe we need to have an awards at the end and really shout out to those people doing great social media.
2 nominees at the moment for media.
This is round 7. So let's go to a report card. Now, a report card is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being fantastic. Now, 7 out of 10 is like you're winning your position, you've won your bib, you're doing your job. That is what a pass mark would be when we used to do leading teams and things like that. To get a 7 out of 10 is you're doing your job. Below that, and I know it seems like, oh, but that's still a pass mark, 60%. No, you're on the borderline. But let's give every team a rating out of 10.
10. Have to be a 10. Haven't dropped a game. 10, 10, 10 for me.
Yep, 10 for me as well. And probably still have room to grow, which is a scary thought for the competition. Thunderbirds.
I'm going to give the Thunderbirds an 8. They would have been a 9 prior to the last 2 weeks. But the last 2 weeks, I'm like, girls, are you back to the pack? So they're an 8 for me.
Yeah, they'd be an 8.5, but what I really want to see from them, I want to see more consistency, especially through that wing attack, goal attack. I feel like on the weekend, the blueprint is how you beat Georgie Horges because they have to change her. I'd love to see her start and finish in a position and know that like a Taylor Williams can come on and actually do a really solid job. I feel like there's a little bit too much change there for the Thunderbirds, but still sitting relatively pretty for me. Fever.
I'm going to give Fever the same as the Thunderbirds. Obviously, they went to Adelaide and got very touched up, but I will say they have been more consistently aggressive and more consistently strong across the board, and they've stuck with their 7. One thing I do like about Fever at the moment, and people can say what they will, but it's been a winning formula for the Vixens for how many years? The Fever is stuck with their 7. They're playing it out. There was a bit of conjecture around whether at some point they were up like 20 goals. They should have brought Sloane Burton on. My opinion of that is you just need to ride this 7. That is going to be the 7 that you play with. Alice Teague-Nield, potentially in there, or 8 with Zoe Kranzberg, but they're the ones that need to be out there getting the time into the legs, getting the time together out on an SSN court. So Fever for me is an 8.
I would give them an 8 as well. I do think that they've still got plenty of room to grow. I think that is the hardest thing, and what maybe even sometimes determines the top teams in this league compared to the bottoms is the fact that some coaches change really quick, others let it ride out. And that can be a risk because it can go further out, or it can be the risk in allowing your team to find a groove, to figure it out. I think as coaches, you always want to create thinking players on court. You don't want to have to be calling timeouts. You want them to be able to adapt and address it in the moment. And I think Fever players can do that really, really well. Lightning are sitting 4th at the moment. Watch a pass.
Well, I'm going to be brutal because I had them sitting 2nd. So for me at the moment, they're a 6. I was actually going to say 5, and then I was like, no, I'm going to say 6 because then there's not much room down the bottom, and we're only at 4. So I'm going to give them a 6. Just not what I thought they would have been at this part of the season.
I'm actually going to go agree with you on that. I definitely think I nearly was going to say, oh, surely it's a 5. We could even give them a 5.5. And the reason I say that is with the names of the players on their list, I just expect more. That's...
Mavs, I'm going to have to give them a 4.5. And this is because it's like, okay, we often say this, and this was another doozy from our mum. If they're not talking to you, like if they're a coach and they're not talking to you, they don't care about you. So you kind of want them to be hard on you and talking to you, right? The reason I'm giving the Mavs a 4.5 because I believe in them so much. And I genuinely am like, you have all of the pieces. I don't know what's happening between the ears in really critical moments. I'm not sure about Riley Batchelor. I just want her to come out and like, I don't know, show me that she's like Nat Medhurst, Sharelle McMahon or something like that. I just need to see a legacy game from Riley Batchelor.
A lot of these Mav players have been begging for these minutes because they've been sitting behind other players. Well, then show us that you are capable of the minutes, because it's still kind of like, I'm impacting. You can't impact for 60 minutes. It's not the way it works. You got to be solid.
4.5 for the Mavs, just purely, and also don't sell me your recruitment in the off season. I was like, Mavs are finishing 3rd. Mavs are playing finals, and yes, they lost a very critical piece of that. I will give them, maybe a 0.5, but maybe a 5 to a 4.5 because of Tara Hinchcliffe. But I think, and I was just sitting there on the weekend, I've never been more frustrated from a team that I know can actually piece this together. And Jessie Grenvold came onto SEN afterwards, and she said, we had a conversation this week in our culture meeting that like we can do something really special. And she got off air, and I remember thinking, I love all of this and I love that you believe in yourself, but I'm going to need to start seeing it out on court. We're halfway through the season. So 4.5, plenty to improve for the Mavs for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a 5. They're just sitting there. Once again, you know what? Mavs and Lightning, they're like just there. And it's like, I expect so much more from you. So let's lift the bar. Firebirds. Now, we don't have to rate them because they're sitting maybe 6 or 7.
I'm going to give Firebirds a 5.
I'm going to give Firebirds a 6. And the reason is that I feel like they are on this path, and not like from round 1 to where they are now has been a constant improve. I'm seeing the shift. I'm seeing the change. They talked about their off season. They've talked about their cultural shift, and you can see it. So I'm going to give them a 6.
Yeah, can I just say off the Firebirds, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the 5 for me is that like I have genuine vision now. I saw it last game of improvement and figuring out what didn't work last game and putting it into action. Now, that is not something that I can say about the Mavs, and that's probably why on the ladder I've got them topsy-turvy.
Swifts, hit me.
Oh my Lord. I'll say a 3.
Yeah. And
got like, Grace Becky in your team.
But once again, I'll go back to our episode 1 talking about our predictions and saying I am worried about their defensive lineup because I just don't feel like there's been a shift enough. And that's, like maybe they just need a change. Maybe it's just been too long, the same thing, the same voices. Swifts, I'll give them 4. Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe the 4 as well. I can add to your justification there, because that game against the Vixens, now we've given the Vixens a 10. They were right there in it. They were very, very good that game. Every other game though, I don't know where the Swifts are. And I just think with someone with the caliber of Grace Nweki. She's unbelievable. She's unbelievable on an international stage. I understand they've had some injuries and stuff with Helen, but I'm just gonna have to give them a 3 because that's what they're sitting 7th at the moment. So prove me wrong.
Now Giants. Giants is a tough one because I feel
2.
like
2.
there is a lot of change, a lot of youth. The experience is coming from new players like from internationals. Maybe this is the absolute best that this group can, and this is their starting point to then build. But I just don't want it to be a quick, like, oh, we've brought in these players and then they're leaving. And then Giants really need consistency and continuity. It's like they need something solid in there. So yeah, gosh, it's hard. I'll agree with you.
It's brutal. It's brutal, but it's also just reflection of the ladder at the moment. And you can't be 0 wins out of 6 games and asking me for a 7. So I think the 2 is just that is ladder based and no wins as yet. But the two, they would have been a 1 if they didn't come close in that Thunderbirds game. I was so impressed. Yes, probably a bit to be said about how the Thunderbirds play that game, but full credit to the Giants. So yeah, 2 for me, just purely on ladder position. There's bones there though that I'm very excited about.
The thing about the top and the bottom is consistency. It is the elusive thing that every team is after. Consistency from minute to minute, consistency from quarter to quarter, consistency from game to game. Like, you have to find it. And the teams that are consistently producing the same stuff, that is why they're at the top, because they can string it together regardless of their opponent. How can you see what you saw at Thunderbirds? That's where it's like, oh, it's just an out of the box. So maybe you can't do that. Maybe you're not capable.
You talk about consistency though too. You're like, you got to consistently be doing the right thing. There's also teams that I've seen consistently make the same errors week in, week out. I'm not going to name anyone. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about, but I'm like, that's where, whereas a Firebirds, I saw changes in the game. Me, like I'm a coach of SSN and like I'm playing. Obviously just an opinion, guys.
It's just our thoughts. You can agree to disagree.
Disagree.
Another little piece of gold from our Brownisms was the fact that when you were like, I've seen the same thing time and time again, Dad would always be like, did that coach just burn the notes from the game before? Because we've just seen the same thing happen. He always used to say there must be a shredder under their seat or a fire pit. That they just like, don't need those answers anymore.
Oh, they forget about combinations. You know how he would be like, did they forget that combination won that game?
We've seen this before. There must be a shredder of their notes underneath their chair. So just another little bit in there for you. We do want to have a quick touch on local legends. Now, our beautiful mum got a precinct named after her. It is our local club, the South Barwon Swans in Geelong. We grew up playing a fair bit of our netball there from junior days, right from 13s, 15s, 17s to then winning premierships in A grade as well. But she is our local legend, and the reason is I don't think anyone can top this, and if you can, then you are a local legend as well. But she coached 59 teams over a 14-year voluntary stint at a local netball club. Coaching, she would obviously be there helping out with committees, events, anything, but coaching was really her love and passion from her teaching background and working with young players in the juniors. Would sit on the bench of seniors as well. But 59 teams she was involved with, 47 made grand finals, 37 won premierships, and we have footage of all of those 37 cups. Unbelievable scenes. So on the weekend, the sporting club named the precinct, the 2 netball courts after our mum, the Chris Brown netball precinct. You and I were both there. It was an amazing scene. Us players, us coaches, committee members, current people, players from other clubs coming up. I can't wait for the day, and it will be soon when I get to go there with Judd and shoot some netball hoops and just be in mum's netball precinct or play a practice match there. It was unbelievable, so humbling for a beautiful person we know, but also for what she did for that club, and the stories and the people that shared it was unbelievable. So we couldn't go past without giving our local legend to our mum, but it was incredible, wasn't it, Kels?
Yeah, very special moment, and you and I have both spoken about this. It's always bittersweet. We've had the school arena that she taught at, named after her now, the Chris Brown Arena. She's got a Chris Brown netball precinct, which I think both of us, we're just so incredibly proud of her, but also trying to live on the legacy. I feel like now a lot of decisions that I make are very easy to make just because I think, what would mum have done and what advice would mum be giving me? So yeah, she's still living on. And we did ask people, and I don't know if anyone is out there listening, keep talking about our mum, keep talking about any of if you have any stories from when we were playing, we always love to hear it, because that's one of the coolest things about when they're gone. You're still hearing about the amazing deeds that they did and the amazing person that they are, even though you already knew. So very special moment for our family.
We're going to go minute with Maddie. We'll shift that to next week. We're going to alternate local legend, Maddie minute, week in, week out. But let's wrap this up and have a look at round 7 preview, the games that are hitting our screens and our airways this weekend. Saturday, Swifts versus Giants. It's the who's going to get the
Battle of the bottom, Queen.
Yeah. It's the battle of the bottom. I was going to say who's getting bragging rights in New South Wales, but yeah, it's also the battle.
I'm so sorry. I'm brutal.
And then Thunderbirds versus Lightning. This is a great one for Lightning to go, you know what? We are still
Show me your number 2, baby.
We're still very much in this conversation, or are we on that slow decline? Sunday, Firebirds and Mavericks. This is a danger game, I feel, for Mavericks because
must win. Must win. I cannot say it any clearer. Must win.
Must win. Fever, Vixens. That is going to be epic. Fever are just so hard to beat over in the West, and I feel like they could absolutely get it. And then Blinder of the Week, who have you got? Where are we going to see an absolute perler?
Well, I'm so sorry because I feel like I'm going to take yours, and maybe we can just have a joint one. But Jessie Legaio, we mentioned her at the top. She came on, she started for the Firebirds, she played 60 minutes, she was amazing. Only 2 turnovers in that time as well, which I think anyone would have expected her to have 5 or 6. She's new in the league. 2 turnovers, unbelievable stats. She matches up against Jamie Lee Price, who is arguably the best center in the league at the moment. I just think the way that they both play the game, I cannot wait to see this battle. And like I said, it's a must win for the Mavs. I know that Jamie Lee Price is an incredible player and she's going to have a say in how this goes. Netball is a team sport though. It's not just all on Jamie Lee Price's back, but this matchup,
yeah, I love it. I'm going to jump on your blinder because I have a 0 track record. Let's just try and jump on someone who's winning in this area. Like you said, the way that their games are is very, very similar. I always used to think when you're coming up against an opponent, you want to sometimes take away their strengths, because once their strengths are gone, then they don't have anywhere to really pull from. But their strengths are both each other's strengths. So this should be a really great matchup. Another shout out just to some mid-quarters that I loved on the weekend was a Zoe Kranzberg. I thought what she did on JLP was unbelievable. She's got another tough task this week, potentially against a Kate Maloney. So once again, another youngster doing a really, really good job there. So I'm looking forward to that contest as well.
Well, if she performs well against Kate Maloney, now they're obviously twins, and I think everyone has touted Jordan to be the next diamond. But if she does a number on Kate Maloney this weekend, could we potentially see a chat around Zoe Kranzberg being elevated into a diamond squad?
Ooh, it's a good one. Now, just a little recap on Diamond stuff is the fact that around 11, round 12 is when we'll see the Commonwealth Games squad be announced. Now, the team goes off to the Commonwealth Games, I don't know, adjudicators, whatever they're going to tell us about netball and where the Diamonds can and can't select. But the team actually has to get approved. Once it's then approved, then obviously it will get announced around about round 12. So we are not too far away from that. Players don't have much more time to show that, you know what, you need to sign me. I want a ticket over to Glasgow. So it is getting interesting towards the end of this season as well. But that is a wrap. Episode 7 done. Good luck to everyone playing netball on the weekend. Enjoy your games. Thanks, Kels. Love the hair.
I know, guys. It's red, and we're just experimenting.
It's one thing that you can always count on. Kelsey will come with a different look at some point through our locker room podcast chat. It was always coming. It's just taken us 7 rounds to get there, but that's all good. All right, see you guys.